In 2000, an American scientist stationed with the military instructs his Korean assistant to dispose of around 200 bottles of toxic chemicals by dumping them down the drain, disregarding the potential consequences for the nearby river. Over the years, locals start noticing unusual occurrences in the river. Two fishermen capture a peculiar fish in a cup, observing that it appears mutated. When one of them attempts to touch it, the fish reacts violently, causing the man to drop the cup as it swiftly swims away. In 2006, at a bridge, a businessman contemplating suicide spots a large, dark shape moving in the water below before he leaps. One afternoon, by the river, Gang-do dozes off inside his father's snack stall. A homeless boy named Seo attempts to steal some food, but his brother Sejin intervenes and takes him away. The stall owner, Hai Bong, wakes Gang-do and urges him to start working. At that moment, Gang-do's daughter Yoon returns from school, upset because Gang-do sent her unreliable uncle to the parents' meeting instead of attending himself. She has been ignoring her dad's calls because her old phone has poor reception, and she's embarrassed to use it in public. Then, Gang-do and Yoon rush to the stall, where Gang-do reveals a hidden box of money he's been saving to buy her a new phone. They turn on the TV and learn from the news that a body has been discovered in the Han River, but quickly switch channels to watch Gang-do's sister, Nam-ju, compete in an archery tournament. Their viewing is interrupted by Hai Bong, who sends Gang-do to deliver free snacks to some dissatisfied customers. Gang-do finds them fixated on something unusual dangling from the bridge. It moves and reveals itself as a monster, which then dives into the water. Curious, Gang-do throws a beer can, and the monster snatches it with a tentacle, consuming it whole. The excited crowd begins throwing more food into the river, but the creature vanishes. Just as everyone starts to leave, the monster resurfaces, attacking the crowd, flinging people around, and causing fatalities with its lethal limbs. The crowd flees in terror, but the monster relentlessly pursues, crushing and dragging people along the ground. Some manage to hide in a container, where the monster follows and gets stuck momentarily. Shortly after, Gang-do and Donald rush to the opposite end of the container, opening it to let the survivors escape. The monster emerges again and continues its rampage. Donald tries to stop it by throwing a floor tile, but it has no effect. Then, he and Gang-do heave a heavy signpost at the beast, but it also fails to inflict any damage. With a victim in its jaws, the monster pounces on Donald, injuring him, while Gang-do flees. He retrieves the signpost and this time targets the monster's sensitive tail, successfully wounding it. The creature's blood splatters on Gang-do's face as he makes his escape. When Yoon finally exits the stall, Gang-do grabs her hand, and they join the fleeing crowd. Amid the chaos, many fall, and Gang-do loses grip of his daughter's hand. Blinded by panic, he grasps another hand, only to realize too late that he has grabbed the wrong teenager. Turning around in horror, he sees the creature capturing Yoon and taking her back to the river. Desperate, Gang-do jumps into the river too and watches from the opposite shore as the monster spits out one human and takes Yoon instead, before disappearing into the water. Moments later, the area is cordoned off by police and military forces. Forced to evacuate, Gang-do and Hai Bong pack up the stall, taking the money box with them. As the river zone is sealed, a funeral is held for the victims of the monstrous attack. Namju arrives, mourning her niece with her bronze medal, and is joined by the third sibling, Namil, who is educated but unemployed due to his activist past. The family's grief captures the attention of reporters, who start documenting the scene. Namil, having heard about Gang-do's mistake, publicly berates him for grabbing the wrong hand, igniting a familial altercation that authorities have to intervene to calm. As the room fills with mysterious smoke, a group of men in hazmat suits rush in. An agent quickly assesses the situation, asking if anyone had contact with the creature. Gang-do admits the monster's blood splashed on his face, prompting the hazmat team to encase him in a special bag and remove him swiftly. Shortly after, the media starts covering the incident. Donald, identified as a US Army sergeant who lost an arm, is transported to a military hospital. Medical tests reveal a strange reaction in the body parts that contacted the creature, suspected to be caused by an unknown virus. The US Army sends a sample to the CDC, confirming that the river creature is carrying this virus. Now, only special forces trained in biological warfare are permitted near the river, while fumigation units attempt to cleanse the area with smoke. Everyone present during the incident and at the subsequent funeral is taken to a hospital for quarantine and testing. That evening, while scratching an itchy spot on his back, Gang-do receives a startling phone call from Inesio asking for help, claiming she's trapped in the sewers. The call cuts off before she can explain further. Meanwhile, near the river, two fumigation agents pause their work upon noticing something unusual. Suddenly, the monster emerges, incapacitates one agent, and crushes their truck. After departing, the creature leaves the men in a sewer, storing human bodies for later consumption. Inesio, hidden in a wall cavity, emerges to check the unconscious agent for a phone, but finds it inoperable. Back at the hospital, Gang-do's family attempts to convince a skeptical police officer that Inesio is alive, spurred by the phone call. Despite showing the officer his phone as evidence of the creature's actions, the officer dismisses it as a hallucination and leaves, unswayed by Haibong's attempt to bribe him. Moments later, the family covertly exits the hospital, blending in with other patients until a nurse recognizes Gang-do by his dyed hair, prompting them to flee. They change into their own clothes in the elevator, and Haibong reassures them they're on the right track. They reach the parking lot where a mysterious driver in a van picks them up, nearly leaving behind Namju in the rush. But the driver circles back to retrieve her while dodging pursuers. As a police officer attempts to intercept them, Gang-do pushes him away. The group eventually arrives at a warehouse on the outskirts of town, where it's revealed that Haibong had hired criminals to assist their escape from the hospital and procure items to aid their search for Inesio. The cost of these services far exceeds expectations, and when Haibong's jewelry is refused, the criminals take all his credit cards instead. In the van, the siblings watch the news and discover they are now considered fugitives. They depart in a fumigation truck provided by the criminals, equipped with two hazmat suits, weapons, and a sewer map. Gang-do and Haibong don the suits, while Nam-il and Nam-ju hide under a blanket. At a security checkpoint, a manager notes the fumigation company's last-minute registration as suspicious. Haibong quickly bribes him with a bag of coins before driving into the river area. Following the map, they scour the sewers for Inesio. Occasionally, Gang-do runs behind the truck to expose himself to the smoke, hoping to rid himself of any contamination before finding his daughter. After hours of searching, they notice movement in the dark and feel wet drops, prompting them to open fire. When they check, they realize it's just a water leak. Nearby, the liquid turns out to be urine from Esio, who along with his brother Seijin has been scavenging food from the family's abandoned snack stall. Esio considers stealing money, but Seijin reminds him that while taking food can be justified by hunger, taking money is outright theft. After filling their bags, the brothers leave, only to encounter the monster. The brothers sprint away, but the creature swiftly intercepts them. Shortly thereafter, the family gathers at the stall, sharing a warm meal and imagining Inesio is with them, maintaining their spirits. Meanwhile, the real Inesio tries to collect water from a leak. When she hears the monster, she feigns unconsciousness, observing as it drops the brothers and then departs. Upon checking, Inesio finds Seijin has died, but Esio is alive, so she shields him from the creature's view. Back at the family's location, Namju and Nam-il chastise Gang-do for falling asleep again. Displeased, Haibong recounts Gang-do's childhood intelligence, marred by his frequent solo forages for food at neighboring farms due to Haibong's absences, which were insufficient for his healthy development, leading to his current slow-mindedness and random sleep episodes. Suddenly, Gang-do awakens to see the monster outside. Haibong fires at it, provoking the creature, which charges the stall and tips it over. Haibong shoots again when the creature draws near, knocking it down temporarily. The family emerges to see the monster still alive. Nam-il fires at it too. The creature flees to the bridge, causing chaos and car crashes, then escapes into the water as soldiers approach, prompting the family to flee. Gang-do mentions having one bullet left, but when Haibong tries to shoot, he finds the gun empty, a miscount by Gang-do. The monster attacks, fatally injuring Haibong with a swift tentacle strike. The siblings mourn their father as authorities disrupt their grief. Nam-il and Namju escape, while a guilt-ridden Gang-do surrenders himself. Later, the news reports Donald's death from the virus. The CDC plans to deploy Agent Yellow, a chemical treatment for virus outbreaks. Despite public safety concerns, the media notes the virus's symptoms resemble a cold, causing people to shun anyone coughing or sneezing. Meanwhile, Nam-il reconnects with his activist friend Fat Guevara, who helps him access a telephone company's system after hours to track Inesio's call. They locate the call, but need a password for GPS access. Guevara, fixated on Namju's whereabouts, distracts as his group prepares to capture Nam-il for a reward. Discovering another password, Nam Il accesses the location one high bridge and marks it before causing a blackout with a short circuit to escape the ambush. Injured from a subsequent leap off a bridge to elude police, Nam Il manages to text Yun Seo's location to Nam Ju before passing out. All this while, Nam Ju has been stealthily searching for Yun Seo, hiding under bridges and scavenging food from their family store. After charging her phone and seeing her brother's message, she rushes to the one high bridge. Tragically, the monster attacks just as she's about to use her bow, knocking her into a narrow sewer. Nam Ju loses consciousness and falls into a spot where the beast can't reach her, prompting it to leave. Meanwhile, in the lab, Gang Du, fueled by renewed hope, tries to escape, but the medical staff quickly subdues him and administers a sedative. When he doesn't succumb to unconsciousness an hour later, the doctors proceed to extract a sample despite his protests. Gang Du's cries of pain catch the attention of an American doctor who intervenes, seemingly concerned. With the assistance of a bilingual medic, Gang Du explains his daughter's situation and his previous pleas for help. Initially, the American doctor appears sympathetic, but it soon becomes clear he is only assessing Gang Du's mental state. He concludes that the virus might be causing dementia and insists on a brain sample. A Korean doctor objects, prompting the American to reveal privately that Donald's death was due to shock, not a virus, as autopsies and tests on quarantined individuals showed no sign of infection. Understanding enough English to grasp the significance of no virus at all, Gang Du demands further explanation, but is instead taken for a brain biopsy. In the sewers, Yun Seo and Seo use clothing from corpses to create a makeshift rope with a cop's baton attached, attempting to hook it to a sewer grill, but it remains out of reach. The monster returns, and the children retreat into their hiding spot, watching it regurgitate human bones and a beer can before trying to eat another victim. When it detects their presence, it probes the hole with its mouth, but they stay just out of its reach. After his operation, Gang Du feigns numbness, then seizes an opportunity to overpower a doctor and take a syringe, threatening to expose others to the virus with his blood. This ruse gains him enough space to escape. Outside, he finds the lab is a container in a remote area where soldiers are lunching. Using the doctor as a shield, Gang Du disrupts their meal and flees in an ambulance. Under the bridge, Nam Il wakes to find a tramp has rescued him. He tries to obtain directions to the Wuneo Bridge, offering money for empty beer bottles. The tramp, after a hostile gesture with a broken bottle, agrees to guide him. Together, they take a cab and prepare Molotov cocktails en route. Concurrently, protests against the deployment of Agent Yellow swell, centered at Wuneo Bridge. Back in the sewer, Yun Seo risks emerging to check if the sleeping beast reacts to a thrown can. Seizing the moment, she attempts to climb the rope, but is pulled back by the beast's instinctive twitch. Frozen in fear, Seo inadvertently causes a noise, waking the beast, which attacks before they can retreat. Eventually, Gang Du locates the cracked sewer, but is heartbroken by the sight of bones. He descends Yun Seo's makeshift rope, spotting her name tag on a jacket just as the monster reappears, but doesn't notice him. Above ground, Nam Ju climbs out of the sewer, readying her bow as the beast approaches, but is distracted by a frantic Gang Du. Nearby, a large crowd protests against Agent Yellow, sporting shirts calling for Gang Du's release. Protesters, encircled by police, remain steadfast until panic ensues at the sight of the approaching monster. As officers open fire, Gang Du rushes onto the bridge, pleading for them to cease fire to protect his daughter's body. He dives into the water just as a drone disperses Agent Yellow, enveloping the area in toxic fumes that sicken the crowd. The monster, too, begins to suffer from the effects. Another officer attempts to shoot the weakened beast, but Gang Du intervenes. Seizing the opportunity, he reaches into the creature's mouth and extracts a human hand, tragically discovering the two children are deceased. As the drone continues to release Agent Yellow, masked agents document the chaos, with many, including police, falling ill. The three siblings mourn together beside Yun Seo. Overwhelmed with grief, Gang Du breaks a sign to fashion a makeshift weapon, striking the monster and causing it to bleed before being knocked aside. Then, Nam Il launches his Molotov bombs, driving the creature away from the flames. The beast retreats under the bridge, where the tramp douses it with gasoline. Nam Il's final bomb slips from his grasp, exploding beside him. Nam Ju then ignites an arrow and shoots it directly into the monster's eye, setting it ablaze. Before it can escape to the water, Gang Du stabs it in the mouth with the pole, effectively killing it. After the confrontation, Gang Du checks on Seo, relieved to find the child is alive. and he quickly moves him away from the toxic vicinity. Weeks later, Gangdu, now responsible and in charge of the snack stall, cares for Seo. One evening, as US authorities on TV admit the absence of any virus, Gangdu and Seo turn off the television to enjoy their dinner in peace. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content. Thank you for watching.